In the early hours of September 1st, 1939, a deafening silence fell over the streets of Warsaw, abruptly shattered by the roar of German tanks. This was not merely the onset of war. This was the dawn of World War II, a conflict that would engulf the planet and alter the course of human history forever. But beneath the surface of the grand narratives of generals and battles lay untold stories, stories that reveal the unyielding human spirit in the face of unimaginable horror. What happened next shocked the world, but even more, it shocked those who lived it. Nor's story begins in the heart of Europe before that infamous dawn. Poland, a nation steeped in a rich tapestry of culture and identity, suddenly faced annihilation. As German forces advanced across its borders, civilians were thrust into a nightmare they had never conceived. Ordinary men and women became reluctant heroes, emboldened by an unwavering desire to protect their homeland. Among these was Janusz Korczak, a renowned pediatrician and author, who chose to stay with the children of his orphanage in Warsaw rather than escape to safety. Few understood then the extraordinary courage that would define the lives of so many in the darkest hours of history. As Nazi forces swept across Europe, countries fell like dominoes, succumbing to the ruthless efficiency of blitzkrieg tactics. But amidst the chaos, resistance began to sprout from the cracks of despair. Underground movements, often led by those deemed unremarkable, orchestrated daring sabotage operations. The Polish Home Army, made up of unlikely heroes, teachers, students, and factory workers, mounted one of the largest resistance efforts against the German occupation. They refused to be mere spectators in the war that threatened to consume them. And the struggles faced by these resistance fighters were profound. The harsh realities of life under Nazi occupation meant hunger, fear, and constant peril. Yet, within their hearts burned a flame of rebellion that propelled them forward. Using guerrilla tactics, they executed daring attacks while also striving to provide aid and shelter to those persecuted. Their combined efforts formed a tapestry of courage woven with sacrifice as they provided intelligence to the Allies, yet their stories often remained untold and overlooked throughout history. As the war reached its peak in 1944, the stage was set for one of the most dramatic turning points in history, the Warsaw Uprising. Armed with a mere handful of weapons, the Polish Home Army made a desperate bid to liberate their city from years of tyranny. For 63 days, they fought to reclaim their homeland, battling against tremendous odds and overwhelming adversaries. Heroes emerged, but so too did profound tragedy. As buildings crumbled and streets ran red with blood, the world held its breath. Would this be their triumphant stand or a futile endeavor? And though the uprising ultimately failed, leading to the systematic destruction of Warsaw and untold suffering, the legacy of resilience it left was indelible. The bravery of those Poles defied the brutality of their oppressors, inspiring future generations to remember the power of unity in adversity. What they fought for transcended borders and nationalities, a relentless hope for freedom that would echo through time. And today, as we reflect on the echoes of World War II, we remember these untold stories. They matter not only for their historical significance, but for the lessons they impart about bravery and humanity. In a world where divisive ideologies often threaten to resurface, the narratives of those who stood firm against tyranny must resonate loudly. Their stories remind us that it is not the grand voices of history that shape our future, but the courage of ordinary people willing to take a stand. As our narrative draws to a close, we are left to ponder how these forgotten stories connect to our lives today. They call us to remember, to share, and to act in our own communities against injustice, just as those brave souls did decades ago. In a time when darkness encroaches everywhere, let us remember, it is often in the most trying times that humanity shines the brightest. Only when we acknowledge these untold stories can we truly understand the resilience of the human spirit. Only then can we honor their memory and ensure their sacrifices were not in vain. So we ask, how will you choose to remember? What legacy will you build from their sacrifices to fight for a world of justice and truth, to guide the next generation toward a brighter future? And across continents and through time, we find an unbreakable link between past atrocities and present challenges. Let their voices, those who lived quietly in the shadows of history, lead us into the light of a better tomorrow. As we delve deeper into the heart of World War II, it's essential to recognize that the fragility of peace was always hanging by a thread. The stories of resistance, like that of the Warsaw Uprising, serve as powerful reminders of what occurs when individuals refuse to remain silent. They inspire discussions of courage and camaraderie amidst adversity, despite the shadows that loomed over Europe. But the resistance wasn't limited to Poland. It manifested in myriad forms across the continent. In France, the spirit of resistance blossomed through the French Resistance Network, comprised of men and women who defied Nazi occupation in remarkable ways. Artists and intellectuals risked their lives to distribute underground publications, disseminating vital information about troop movements and conditions in concentration camps, while others carried out acts of sabotage against German installations. Among them was the famed writer and escape artist André Gide. But the personal sacrifices were immense. Many found themselves betrayed, arrested, and executed, unsure if their fight would matter in the grand scale of the war. Yet, amidst the profound darkness, there existed flickers of hope and remarkable ingenuity from the Allies who unified against tyranny. In 1941, the world learned about Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's audacious invasion of the Soviet Union. However, few grasped the daily horrors faced by Red Army soldiers on the front lines. They were not just fighters. They were mothers, brothers, sons, and daughters fighting to protect their way of life. The resilience of the Russian spirit became a lasting legacy as they turned the tide at Stalingrad, albeit after devastating losses. The cold winter of 1942 swallowed countless lives, but forged an undeniable will among the Soviet populace to defeat the fascist threat. What transpired next transformed the battlefield into an arena of heroism. The siege of Leningrad became a tale of survival against all odds. Cut off from the outside world for 872 harrowing days, over 1 million citizens suffered considerably, yet hope remained anchored in their hearts. They survived on a meager diet of bread made from sawdust, enduring bombings that reverberated like a symphony of destruction. But they weren't just passive victims. They found ways to resist through art and culture, holding concerts in the underground while they faced starvation. It was their way of saying, "We are alive. We will endure." But nobody knew that the horrors of the final solution were escalating. The Holocaust, an unimaginable atrocity, was but one thread in the complex tapestry of the war. The human annihilation of European Jewry remains a stark testament to humanity's darkest hour. Heartrending stories of resistance emerged within the ghettos, showcasing an indomitable spirit. Hidden by bravery, families went to great lengths, forging identities to evade capture, yet many did not survive. We remember figures like Oskar Schindler, whose actions saved over 1,000 lives, epitomizing moral courage amidst chaos. Each life saved was a triumph against despair. As the war progressed, one couldn't ignore the pivotal role of women. During a time when their contributions were often overlooked, countless women stepped into roles vacated by men who had gone to fight, transforming the fabric of society. Women like Vera Atkins, a member of the Special Operations Executive, worked tirelessly to send spies and operatives into occupied Europe. They were the backbone of an operation that, while unsung, changed the course of history. As the Allied forces turned the tide in 1944, landing on the beaches of Normandy in the infamous D-Day invasion, it became evident that the horrors of war had transmuted into a struggle for freedom. The bravery exhibited on that fateful day, across the blood-soaked sands of Omaha Beach, was a testament to the courage of countless individuals. But again, embedded in the narrative were untold stories of ordinary soldiers.